Kick it up another 100 times. So now you can see a pit right here with another cell type dominating in the pits. Just like salivary tissue. Mucus cells. These are now higher up to help protect your stomach from the secretion that it makes, which is perfect for digesting your own stomach. In my lecture we say, yeah, these are part of the GMB, the gastric mucosal barrier. For histo, mucus cell clusters. You can also get a good look at this simple columnar epithelium. Just these tall cells that are the epithelial lining. So these are the mucus, simple columnar. And then down you go into the gastric glands. See all those reddish cells, orange to red, those are the parietals. Singular one right there, perfect. Let's say, magnify a bit more, looks like a bloodshot eye. And then as you get a little deeper, it starts to go more of a bluish color. So now we descend deeper in the gastric glands, where we're now seeing whole clusters of these blue cells. Those are the chiefs, or zymogenics. So in this specimen, you see all three. So you look around, you say, well, there's a parietal, and there's a parietal, here and there. And then you see a cluster of chief, all clustered together, here and here. Tend to be more sociable. And then you'll also see ones that don't stain much at all. Here, here, and here, and here. Mucus cells. All you see is the nucleus. Everything else is clear. So you can see the three cell types in this one specimen. This is a nice one to use for identifying the cells of the gastric glands. Mucus, parietals, chief. Okay. All right, so now we've moved out through the pyloric sphincter. We're into the small intestine. You see the fingers. The villi, quite obvious, automatically tells you you're in the small intestine. And then you get to the base of the fingers where you get these little pockets. You see them here more magnified. Crypts, intestinal glands. And then in this area you go into the submucosa, down here, where you have mucus cell clusters. Brunner's glands. Brunner's glands always tells you duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. So villi always tells you it's small intestine. Brunner's glands underneath tells you it's duodenum. More specific identification. And then you'll start to note the little bubbles, little openings along the villi and down in the crypts. They say those are a special cell or tissue. If you call them mucus cells, you get a -50. That's a big no-no. What are they? Goblet cells, or goblet tissue, either way. You're not allowed to use those interchangeably. Mucus, distinctly different goblet cells, even though they both are producing mucus secretions, different kinds of mucus. And then here, more magnified with the fingers, small intestine, mucus cell clusters underneath, Brunner's glands, so just another specimen of duodenum. But here was the first time where we said, yeah, this, the same as this. 3D. So that now you have to keep in mind that you've got a lengthwise structure that turns 90 degrees, that then gives you a cross section at the bottom, turns into a circle. This is this continuation to become this, your first example of 3D interpretation. And that's just something we'll gradually do more and more, getting the 3D assessment of various structures. And then the last concern for small intestine is to see the hills in the wall of the small intestine. And then to see the size difference between the hills and the trees on the hills. So here are the trees. You know them as villi, the fingers. And then the hills, plicae, the pleats. The prime concern is that you don't call this a villus, a villi. These are the villi. This is a plicae, a fold in the wall of the small bowel, running circularly around the lumen. And then I want you to have a sense of why they exist. So you're standing in the small intestine, you see those pleats, fuzzy due to the villi, the trees. What are these for? Most times you'll hear surface area, but that's not really why they exist. These are for mixing. You have these folds where the slurry comes up against them, goes sideways, and then falls back into the lumen over and over. So you're getting thorough mixing for digestion and absorption. That makes the plicae very, very special in the small intestine. A massive amount of digestion and absorption. So I say my students go out into the world and put forth the message of plicae for mixing the material as it travels through the small intestine. The villi are the ones that are for surface area. All right? Okay, then you see this specimen dominated by this structure. You say, well, you've got fragmented villi, so that's not well presented, but they're still there. And then you have a combination of lymph nodes, all in the submucosa. So then you know where this is from. What's this called?
Hairston.
Eponymic name, Peyer's patch, which always equals ileum. That's usually an easy ID when you see this. Ileum identified by seeing a Peyer's patch. Lymph nodes linked together. Still got the villi, still have crypts, little openings, even got a nice plicae, the hill with the trees, another one over here. You identify a lot of these structures in multiple presentations. There's everything that you're used to seeing in the small intestine, and then the Peyer's patch tells you more specifically that you're in the ileum. All right, that's all you need for ileum. And then for next week, you know the in-between is not in play, the jejunum. So when you're identifying compartmental histology, it's strictly duodenum versus ileum. You don't have to worry about the middle. And that's just a specimen showing Peyer's patches. Won't use that at all. And then you move along. Villi